Good afternoon, everyone. David Dubine here, creator of Adapt 2030 channel on YouTube, as well as Mini Ice Age Conversations podcast 3 times a week. I wanted to reach out and thank every single one of my Patreon supporters for all that you've helped me with over these last couple of years. It is our community. It's not my or what I do, but it is ours. There's so much going on right now with the changes that you've seen and the uptick in unusual weather, jet streams shifting all over the place. So what I wanted to do from this point forward is start to talk about solutions, areas that are showing already signs of stress or upticks. Every single winter it's more intense, or during the summer it's more heat and flooding. But these same things keep reoccurring in the same places.
So what I wanted to do was give you a winter forecast for 2018-19, as well as a little bit longer term forecast based on sunspot activity. We are heading into at least something as low as the last 200 years. And as we continue forward into the next decade or two, we are going to get back something that we have not seen in 400 years in terms of cooling. We know exactly where the temperature changed during the Maunder minimum. Now, just expecting this moving forward would cool our winters and our planet. But here we have the Farmers Almanac coming out with an extremely cold winter forecast, at least as cold as the 1970s, possibly the 1950s. We got Italian forecasters think that the grand solar minimum is going to cause more global cooling. The Atlantic Ocean is a known driver of cooling the European weather systems. Hudson Bay, North Atlantic, extremely cold. Ironman competition in Austria canceled due to severe weather and snow. The rundown on the August snows across Europe and the United States is startling. 40 centimeters, that's well over a foot, and this is happening in August in several locations. Cattle country, Scotland, minus 2 degrees Celsius, that's about 29 degrees Fahrenheit, snows in Slovenia. If you like the castles, this is what you got in August. Unbelievable. Now notice the trend. Mid-May and June snows, and now we have snows in August over Europe. Notice the average date of snows in the United States, September, October areas already receiving winter snow warnings. Summer snowfall in Montana, Idaho, and Wyoming. How much? About this much. And this much in BC, Canada as well. And the totals that you're looking at on this slide here, those have been broken already. And if you're looking for more in-depth commentary for 30 minutes at a time about the changes on our planet and where we're moving to in the future with food pricing, weather conditions, and how this is going to affect the political stability of our planet and our nations as we know them, Mini Ice Age Conversations tri-weekly podcast, iTunes, Stitcher Radio, Libsyn, and anywhere else you can find a podcast hosted on the net. And a quick FYI, I am backing up this entire channel on YouTube over to BitChute, also Adapt 2030. Thank you so much. I am so happy and so grateful that we as our community have reached 700 videos in this series talking about the changes that you've seen and the changes you can expect. I'm going to start you off here with the Farmers Almanac. They use a combination of moon, sun, sunspots, and repeating cycles through history to get a forecast going out. Well, this year they have forecast above normal precipitation and significant snowfalls in all parts of the United States and Canada. Now, this is specific to the United States, but I am saying right now it is going to sweep the Northern Hemisphere. Asia, Europe will have the same conditions. And using their mathematical and astronomical formulas, winter of 2018-19 will be something you will remember. Arctic air, bitter winds, sharp drops in temperature, widespread snow, frigid weather, especially in February. Now notice how they pointed out Virginia's zone. Again, this was forecast when you look back at the paintings during the Revolutionary War, late 1700s, 1776. For those of you who don't know American history, that war being fought, Washington dragged cannons across several of the waterways that have not frozen in centuries. And it's all about the sunspots. Taking a look where we're moving out into 2020 and further into 2030, 2035, we're getting right back into something as low as the Dalton minimum in the 1800s. Straight above on the top there, you'll see 18 to 1820, extremely low sunspot count. We're getting ready to get right back into that as we speak. This forecast moving out is also going to usher in cooler temperatures and reduced crop yields globally, and that's mainly what the channel is about, is where we're moving with the crop yields based on past cycles, and also forecasting out what the solar cycles are going to do, how that will affect our jet streams. In case in point, Italian forecasters think solar minimum is now causing global cooling. That's a very interesting read. It's over on Robert Felix's site, iceagenow.info. But if we do look back into the 1640s era, 1640 to 1710 specifically, we can find these are the areas on the global Northern Hemisphere map that dropped in temperature. How much it dropped in temperature? Almost a full 2 degrees Celsius. And as we march forward with all the reports of August snows across the Northern Hemisphere, I want you to see if it's in that dark blue and if we're matching anything on the cycles. Last year, you see North Africa, we had record snows, record cold across Morocco. But I'm going to bring you right over here to what is a known pattern on the North Atlantic water temperatures and how that in turn affects European fronts moving through with cold and snow. Hudson Bay, that thing is going to freeze in an instant as soon as the air temperatures start to drop. That thing is looking at 3 to 4 degrees Celsius below normal water temperatures. Now, you know, air and water are very different. It takes an enormous amount of thermal mass to try to heat something compared to cool it. And then extreme cold blobs sitting off of the eastern Maritimes of Canada, that's that water that's being pushed into the Arctic now. This is the reason that the sea ice is not melting as forecast, because the water is 2 to 3 degrees Celsius below normal under the ice. It's not going to melt as fast. From this year forward, the pulse going up in there is going to be comprised of this cooler water for the next 9 years. Also taking a run down SOT.net, the earth changes on the 27th that was coming through with all these articles about snow in August. I'm just going to follow some of these, the links that were provided. Starting off with the Ironman canceled in Austria due to severe weather with snow obstructing parts of the bike course. Did you see that in the news media that you're following? It's a major event canceled by snow in August. Also, the winter in August, 40 centimeters. Now, for those of you in the United States watching, 30 centimeters approximately is a foot. So we're looking at about 15 inches or so. Snow across Germany, Austria, Italy, Slovenia, Switzerland. Let's take a look. How much snow really came down? I'm just going to run through the images and let your eyes feast on the snowfall that's happening in August. I like castles too, so what do you think about this one? Nice, sticky, wet snow that we always see in these early snows that is like glue that stays on every surface. Everything's incredibly white. If you didn't like castles, let's jump over to cattle country. Salzburg. And again, we're seeing the same thing. These snow reports coming out. August snowfall, foot plus, and then the late snowfall that we had all across Europe. May, late May, almost into June snows, and here we are snowing again. So how shrunken is the summertime season? See, this is what they're not talking about in the media that they should be devoting more time to, is putting those two and two together. August snowfall? Where was that? Never heard about it. Well, let me fill you in a little more. In the Alps. And we could just dive right into the Italian Alps, 15 to 20 centimeters, slightly less than a foot, probably around 8 or 9 inches. Dolomites. 24 centimeters. Haute Alta. Now this entry here off of Strange Sounds, the photo's a little misleading. That's in high altitude past Slovakia in the middle of winter as trains are blasting through. That much snow did not fall, but they used this image. Extreme snowfall, Austria, Germany, Italy, Slovenian Alps in the summertime. How much snow fell in Slovenia? About this much. You know, campers were trapped up there yet again. How many times is this now where campers and hikers are being trapped by snowstorms in summer? Meteo World picking it up. Heavy Alps snows. Breaking records, no less. You know, if it was a dusting, that's one thing, but foot plus, that's a lot to be coming down in the summer. We're still weeks away from even being considered what's fall time. Now, August in the Northern Hemisphere should be the warmest time as well. It should not have snow. This is the most obscure snowfalls. I could believe there'd be snow in June before August. Absolutely. I believe there'd be snow in July before August because August is the hottest month. And also just go back August 25th, below 0 Celsius temperatures. Now for those in the U.S., remember 0 degrees Celsius is 32 Fahrenheit. So when we're looking at -2, you're going to have to come down to something like, 28.5 degrees Fahrenheit, Scotland. And that pink right there in the bottom was snow. Didn't hear about that on the news feed, did you? You heard about that one single location in Norway with the record heat on end for 2 weeks. But snowing in August, below 0 temperatures in Scotland didn't register except for the local media. Now also, the person who is doing the research about the pulse water going into the Arctic not allowing so much melt due to the cooler water temperatures, David Dilley. Now, here is his forecast from August of 2008. He's using nearly 500,000 years of gravitational cycles to predict global warming and global cooling. And he says for sure, within the next 15 years, we're going to be back into the 1800s cool. We're already there. This winter is going to absolutely shatter your reality on how cold, and possibly a Buffalo 1970s winter where a city will be locked in where they'll have to bring army to try to resupply it and dig people out, and power grids could possibly go down. Now see, here's the interesting thing. We have the annual temperature change over those same periods. Now notice the difference between the winter temperatures during the Maunder minimum, 1640 to 1710 approximately, compared to the annual temperature change. You're going to notice a little bit of difference in the maps here. So take a look. Central Canada all the way down to the east. Virginia specifically, for those in the U.S., that tapers out into the east coast. They're exactly what the Farmers Almanac was talking about. Alaska should be warmer. Looks like Germany, Austria, and Switzerland also annually cooler. And then notice that big blop in Africa. We're starting to see last year that same exact thing. Record cold temperatures and record snow across Morocco and Algeria both. Northern Asia, northern Russia, but we get that tongue of blue coming down right into the Ural Mountains, right where they grow a lot of wheat. Now let's skip from the annual temperatures into the winter temperature changes. Now this is going to be where it's autumn moving into the winter. You'll start to see a lot more cool during this time. It's going to start to amplify. So you'll notice the amount of blue on this map changes significantly as it moves into winter from autumn. Notice where these same snowfalls are happening right now. And over in the western United States, I want to get into that. That was what you just saw with the European snows. Matches perfectly with this map. And following up on the Italian forecaster's story, SOT.net, I've linked everything below in the description box so you can continue to do your research. Look how many articles are linked about climate change, 400-year cycles in the sun, and during the Little Ice Age, or the Maunder Minimum, the Netherlands flourished when many other empires collapsed around our planet. Massive flooding in Europe during the Little Ice Age, and that's all we're seeing. Every year now is a 200-year rain event, flooding streets across Europe. And I'm going to run through a couple more images just so you can see how much snow has been falling across at least a quarter of the European range. You have to remember this is a single snowfall event. Areas had some more snow. The highest totals were 40 centimeters. I guess there's no sitting outside with a nice espresso watching the people walk by in winter clothing. I guess you're going to have to put on your parkas in August. First winter weather advisory of the season issued for the lower 48 snow blankets, the Northern Rockies. And I thought, is that in the United States in August? Forecast lows at freezing and snow. Sure enough, when was this happening? August 27th and 28th, 2018. Summer snow falls Montana, Idaho, and Wyoming. At least it started there, and then it just spread. They're looking at 4 to 8 inches. These are some beautiful pictures coming out. These are the national parks that they're starting to see these snowfall totals. Glacier National Park. How about British Columbia and Alberta up in Canada? Also unusual, unseasonal snow. And you'll see at the bottom, they also reference the unusual European snows up to 17 inches. So how is this that we're getting all these snow events? This is in Wyoming, Jackson Hole. Coming down in August, Glacier National Park. I mean, the National Weather Service has to cover this because if they don't, they'll have some litigation against them if people are trapped or, have accidents because they didn't put out warnings. But outside that microscopic area of coverage, you're just not going to see this in the average national or international media. Before and after, Glacier National Park, peaks covered. Well, that escalated quickly, didn't it? It's going to be a good ski season for many. Earliest snows in Montana and Idaho. All those that you see there, shattered, gone with this storm alone. They have to update it and put the 2018 totals here in both states. Now, I thought, let's take a look at the average snowfalls, earliest first snowfalls. Right at the top, Fairbanks in Alaska. That's thousands and thousands and thousands of miles north. First snowfall, August 29th. Wait a second, we're getting August 26th snows in the 48 states below Canada. So we're going to use Crested Butte, for example. We're going to stay in Wyoming, 4th entry down. Average first snowfall, October 5th. Even the earliest on record in 1961, September 3rd. They just blew through that through the 26th, 27th, and 28th. See what's happening here? This is breaking all the records for earliest snowfall on record that we have going back to the 1920s and the teens of the 1900s. Nobody's talking about this. Why not? If it was a heat record being broken that shattered something over the 100-year mark, and it was happening in February, oh my gosh, that would be front page news on every international and national and local newspaper across the planet, including websites. But here we are, dozens and dozens of locations breaking their all-time earliest snowfall record across Europe, United States. Not a whisper in the media, except locally. How about Banff? This is how much snow they got on August 27th. Highway cams picking it up as well, Alberta. Feast your eyes on those photos of the before and after. Stunning amounts of snow falling down. Oh yeah, and that was limited not just to those states I mentioned, also in snowmass in Aspen, Colorado. So I want you to take a look at this map for just a second here. I left this for last to really point out the crux of this. All these early snowfalls with the grand solar minimum forecast intensification taking us through at least the next decade and a half. Farmers Almanac is saying it's going to be incredibly cold this year. And here we already have these mystical snowfalls coming down that should not be here at all. The average date of the first measurable snows, where that purple is, where it says October, they're getting snows in August. This should be front page news. This winter is going to be a brutal winter across the Northern Hemisphere. It is going to snow more than you expect. It's going to freeze more than you can expect. It's going to be cooler temperatures than you can expect. And there's going to be bodies of water and rivers freezing that nobody'd expect. The amount of icebreakers that are going to be needed to clear through the Great Lakes and all these channels going up St. Lawrence Seaway, those are normal. They're used to running icebreakers up there. But when we come further down, New York, like we saw last year, New York Harbor needed icebreaker escort. What if we come even further down? What if we get into the Chesapeake Bay where we need icebreakers? And up these same rivers that we saw in the paintings with George Washington fighting the Revolutionary War against the British in the 1700s that were ice covered to the point they could pull cannons and horses and wagons across the thickness of that ice. We're unprepared for that. I don't even know if we have icebreakers that could run channels up through there with that thickness of ice. If they do, it would have to be a continuous process when it first started freezing. They could no way wait until it was that thick and then start breaking channels up there. So not only is the cold, that's one aspect of it, but your food pricing is all mixed into this. We can survive cooler winters. We can insulate our homes. There's a lot of opportunity for those of you who understand where we're going with this. Climate change into the into global cooling and a grand solar minimum. There's more opportunity right now than there ever has been in human history because there will be more need because we have more people on this planet. If you can find the niche, you are going to have such an amazing life during this time. But it's all based on food prices. If you start to look globally, and I encourage you to couple this report together with what the grain reports will be for harvest coming up, what they're going to book into the silos compared to what they say they're getting out of the fields, there's going to be a huge gap between those two. News media around the planet's already telling you food prices are rising due to extreme weather, but they're just not explaining it in this detail as the real reasons why moving forward. I wish you the best of luck in your preparations. This is the 2018-19 winter for the Northern Hemisphere forecast. Please subscribe to the channel and I'll bring you more information just like this. And at the same time, you're going to have to learn how to grow some of your own food, whether it be indoor, vertical farming, sprouting, outdoor, TrueLeafMarket.com, heirloom and organic seeds for any grow zone on the planet. The links below in the description box, as well as the links to all of tonight's images and stories so you can backtrack everything yourself. I know some of you are new listeners. And if you like it better in a blog post format, steamit.com, Adapt 2030. All the videos I turn into blog posts now so you can see the charts, you can see the text, you can really delve into the graphs and point out and start to do your own research. Talk to you next video. Thanks so much for your time.